There we go. Move that a little bit closer there. All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Monday, December 16th, 2024 regular meeting of the Monroe Local Schools Board of Education. Mrs. Moore, please call the roll.
Mr. Carpenter.
Present.
Mrs. Hagedorn.
Present.
Mr. Grant.
Here.
Mr. Leeds.
Here.
Mr. Fulham.
Here. Under Armour. Sit down and then make them stand up.
Yeah. If you will please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any additions to the agenda? We have the addition of item 2.2, elect President Pro Tem. May I get a motion to approve the addition to the agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Grant.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Fulham. Any questions? All right, Mrs. Moore, please call the roll.
Mr. Grant.
Aye.
Mr. Fulham.
Aye.
Mr. Leeds.
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn.
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter.
Aye, motion carried. Item 1.4, approval of the agenda. May I get an approval of the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs.
Second.
Hagedorn. Thank you, Mr. Leeds. Any questions? All right, Mrs. Moore, please call the roll.
Mrs. Hagedorn.
Aye.
Mr. Leeds.
Aye.
Mr. Fulham.
Aye.
Mr. Grant.
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter.
Aye, motion carried. Section 2, Board Liaison and Committee Updates, 2.1. Just a quick reminder that the Board of Education will hold its organizational meeting at Monroe Elementary School on January 13th, 2025 at 6 p.m. with the regular board meeting immediately following. The tax budget hearing will be held immediately preceding the meeting at the same location at 5:45. Okay. Moving on, item 2.2, legislative. Mr. Leeds.
First of all, the legislatures, they have 3 days left to pass any bills if they're going to pass them within the lame duck session, so not much is going to get done, and then they're off for the rest of the year. And so there's very little doubt that we're going to have any major issues passed in the next 3 days, according to Mr. Hall. And the speaker for next year, 99% will be Matt Hoffman. Well, that's good for public education. I don't know, but we'll find out. So a lot of the bills that are on the desk of the legislature is going to have to be reissued because the sponsors of the bill, some of them did not get reelected and some of them have retired. So that's start from scratch. And that's all I have at this time.
All right, thank you, Mr. Leeds. That was actually 2.3, so back to 2.2. Elect President Pro Tem for the January 13th, 2025 organizational meeting. Does anybody have a nominee for President Pro Tem?
It was Pro Tom.
It was Pro Tom. I think it has been Pro Tom.
It was
It has been
Tom.
Pro Tom for a few years.
I'll nominate Tom Leeds.
May
I will
get
second.
a second? All right. Nomination of Tom Leeds as President Pro Tem by Mr. Fulham, second by Mrs. Hagedorn. Anyone else? Conversation? Nothing?
I'm good.
Okay. Mrs. Moore, please call the roll.
Mr. Fulham.
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn.
Aye.
Mr. Grant.
Aye.
Mr. Leeds.
Abstain.
Mr. Carpenter.
Aye, motion carried. Thank you. All right, item 2.4, Butler Tech.
Thank you, Mr. President,
Gatto.
Madam Vice President, members of the board. Before I get started, I do have a regular day job. I've been pretty busy here recently. So the district is obviously getting ready for holiday break. Everything's on track there. So it seems like December is absolutely flying by. We have been involved in 3 construction projects. Each of them have their independent meetings, which I'm a part of as well. So that's been interesting. Certainly a good learning process. A big event that happened last week, House Bill 432 passed in the at the State House. That really relies around career tech industry licensure for business people. So it said that before that if you were a career FBI agent and retired from the FBI, you had to go back to school and get a school credential to actually go and teach law enforcement to high school students. So this law changes that requirement and allows for industry credentials to go towards that education. There will be some sort of education requirement, so they understand how to run a classroom and do those things, but it will significantly open up the ability for industry professionals. If you're a welder, you can go teach a student to weld in our Career Tech Center now. So that is a huge accomplishment. That really is a direct result of our legislative committee that we have at Butler Tech. You've heard me talk about it quite a bit at these meetings. I do go to Washington, D.C., as well as we attend the state probably 2 or 3 times a year up there. This is something that we have been speaking at for over 10 years that I'm aware of. So very excited to see the results of our lobbying efforts there that have actually had a real concrete benefit to millions of people around the country. Hopefully it'll go nationwide. I want to talk a little bit about showcases. A few years back, I think you guys came to one of our all board meeting and saw the first introduction of our showcases. We are still doing that. That is becoming more of a norm over there now. So in lieu of parent-teacher conferences, students get to present for 10 minutes on whatever they choose to speak of. So those have begun. We actually this Friday are having an encore session where teachers and administrators from other buildings can go see our top 100 showcases. But the reason I mention that is Mr. Prohaska attended last week our presentation from a Monroe student, Bella Downard. She's a cosmetology student. She's a junior, and I was informed of a email that you had sent Ms. Abedacker about the showcase and how it really impacted you, and just the surprise of what came out of that. I don't know if you want to share anything of that.
It's just, our kids are doing great things there. She combined her love for art, for cosmetology, did a showcase that was just downright phenomenal. Showed a lot of positive energy. And from what I was told, William would like her to present this week at another. Yeah, that's the encore thing that they're holding on Friday. And maybe we can have an encore of the encore and have her come here and present. So it certainly makes an impact when you get to hear the motivation behind a student, whether it be what they're actually learning at the school, or they can pick and choose a topic of their own to do. So kudos to her for doing such a phenomenal job, and really thanks to Mr. Prohaska for taking the time to go out and see her do it. I know it meant a lot to her as well that you showed up to do that. CTSO events have started. Our local and regional events have begun. We had about 1,000 students there last Saturday at Butler Tech for the regional BPA competition. As the students continue to go and they rate, they can go on to state and then national. State starts around February, and then the nationals are like in April timeframe. So hopefully we have a good showing as usual, and we have many students that continue to go through and get that national exposure and experience.
I attended the ACT Vision Conference in San Antonio, as I had talked at our last meeting. I was actually part of a presentation on board and union and administrator relationships. So we actually had myself, John Graff, and the union president at Butler Tech speak about that relationship and how to operate in a positive fashion there. So it was interesting, and we've got a lot of follow-up from the attendees that have been there talking about how positive it was. And lastly, we are in the throes of the superintendent search. The deadline Friday passed. We had 3 internal candidates that applied for the position, and we have a board meeting tomorrow night to talk about scheduling those interviews. They will be done in January, and I hope to have an answer of whether we're going to go choose an internal candidate. Probably I don't think it'll be the end of January. It will probably go into February, but it will be by sometime in February that we make a final decision. 3 very strong candidates. I'm sure the leadership there, in my opinion, is doing a phenomenal job, just like the superintendent that's currently there has been doing. Any questions?
Nope.
Happy holidays.
Thank you.
I almost wore that shirt.
Yeah, of course. 'Tis the season.
Thank you, Brett.
All right, moving along. Item 2.5, student achievement. Mrs. Hagedorn.
So for student achievement, I have a couple of items I'd like to mention. The elementary yearbook design winner is Anhad Badasha from 6th grade, Miss Scholl's classroom, and you can see his, the design for the yearbook, which I think is pretty awesome. Look at all that creativity. So I just want to congratulate him on that. I'd also like to mention that the Monroe Primary had their 4th annual breakfast with Santa over the weekend. Almost 500 people attended, where Santa flew in from the North Pole, and the Grinch made an appearance to torment everybody as well. So that was a good time. And at this time, I'd like to welcome the all-girl choir ensemble to do a presentation for us, if you don't mind.
Do you need us to move?
Right
Can you fit here?
Right here.
Yeah, and present that way.
Go ahead and do your 3 rows right here.
You might need to take a step. Nice and close. Find your windows. Yeah, if you guys just right a little bit. Yeah, just the back or watch the table like this. All right. All right. women's ensemble this year. Brand new class, brand new uniforms. We decided to add this class because we had 2 ensembles. Chorale was our top ensemble, and there's always many more women that want to be in that group, but that's a balanced group between SATB. So we can't always have those people go up, so we decided to create an advanced women's ensemble to kind of help bring up some of those other females that wanted to be in choir and be at a more challenged level. So this is our advanced women's ensemble.
Thank you very much. That was amazing. Thank you so much.
Very good. Thank you.
you.
Thank you. Thank you. Hey, great job. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Hey, great job. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yep.
Is that all for student
Yes,
achievement?
that's all for student achievement today.
Wow.
Well, that was excellent. Covered up my agenda. All right. All right, moving along to section 3, communications, comments from the public. So having 2. I will read this little boilerplate we have here. The Board of Education recognizes the value to school governance of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on school matters of community interest. The public may participate during comments from the public or when recognized by the board president or superintendent. Those wishing to address the board must fill out request forms provided at the meetings. These should be submitted to the treasurer before the meeting begins. Persons addressing the board must give his or her name and address. There will be a 3-minute limit for addressing the board. Such requests shall be subject to the approval of the superintendent and the board president. In order to permit the fair and orderly expression of such comment, the board shall provide a period for public participation at every regular meeting of the board and publish rules to govern such participation in board meetings. The presiding officer of each board meeting at which public participation is permitted shall administer the rules of the board for its conduct. Upon request to the superintendent, the district shall make reasonable accommodation for a disabled person to be able to participate in this activity. Executive sessions may be proposed at any time during the meeting by any board member for any purpose authorized by law. Per policy 0166, public complaints about district personnel may be heard in executive session. Thought there was more to that, but apparently
Nope,
not.
that was it.
Okay. So before we get into the public comment period, thank you. I'd like to read a statement on behalf of the Monroe Board and Monroe Local Schools provided by our legal counsel. The Monroe Local School District works hard at supporting all students' varying and individual needs. We know that state and federal laws change frequently. We will continue to adjust our processes and procedures to make sure that we meet expectations and comply with what the laws direct us to do. We also remain committed to supporting the needs of our students. So, thank you. Up first, we have Bobby Drew.
Hello,
Please state your name and your address.
Bobby Drew, 977 Garber Road. So, I am here, obviously, you know why I'm here, because you just read your thing about the laws and all that stuff. So, I am in opposition of allowing boys in the girls' bathroom until February. I think that that is irresponsible and inconsiderate of the little girls who are going through puberty and having some hormonal changes, and they have to worry about little boys coming into the bathroom with them while they're learning how to change their pad, and very uncomfortable. I am also, I talked to you, Mr. Buzzkirk, already about my second grader's teacher showing him a video saying that little boys can dress like little girls and that's okay. And I am all for including everybody and, you know, anti-bullying, as you called it, but I don't see why my second grade son should be told that he can dress like a girl at school. I don't think that that's okay, and I'm really sad that I don't see this room filled right now. I don't even have daughters, but I think that the board needs to take a stand and not allow boys in the girls' bathroom. The law's passed. I know it's not supposed to go into effect until February, but still, quite frankly, I'm tired of dealing with all this kind of nonsense. So maybe if you guys kind of like take a stand and say, hey, you know what? We're done with all this garbage. Here's where we stand. Boys are boys, girls are girls. There's a bathroom that you're allowed to use if you feel different, and that's where it should be. Because the new board members that may come in the future have to clean up anything that there may be left over if you guys decide not to be on the board anymore. So I would appreciate it if you guys could take a stand, have a backbone. Thank you.
Thank you. Darby Bodie. Bodie.
I have something for you if you just want to pass it. Thank you.
So please state your name and your address.
My name is Darby Bodie. I live in Westchester, Ohio. I am on the board of Protect Ohio Children, and I am a leader for the Butler County Moms for America group. I recently heard about a female student at Monroe who was uncomfortable with a sexually confused boy being allowed in the most private area designated for females, and the direction she was given by the principal, Logan Stanger, to choose another bathroom if she felt uncomfortable in this decision. I believe the board is behaving cowardly in their elected role to protect the students of Monroe, especially after obtaining knowledge of their own disdain for this direction. And I would like to inform the board of their own non-discrimination policy that does not allow discrimination on the basis of sex. Females are a protected class, and allowing a boy in their private space and telling females to go somewhere else is an act of discrimination. In a court ruling on December 6, 2024 regarding America First Legal and the Fairfax County Public Schools pronoun policy, punishing misgendering and bathroom policies based on gender identity violate the Constitution. Policies giving transgender and gender-expansive students the right to use any bathroom of their choice while regulating other students to private bathrooms if they are uncomfortable constitutes discrimination on the basis of sex. I would like to inform the Monroe School Board of a successful bathroom and locker room policy in Elida schools that was passed on January 11, 2024, without any lawsuits being filed against them. The policy clearly states that each individual shall use the bathroom or locker room corresponding to their biological sex. Currently, without a policy clearly protecting the rights of females at Monroe and giving preferential treatment to students who claim a sex different than their biological sex over students who seek to use bathrooms as they always have without the presence of the opposite sex, is discriminatory and leaves this district vulnerable to litigation. That an adult appears to be using their child as a political statement and forcing them to use the girls' bathroom, and that the board is allowing this abusive behavior at the expense of their students is repulsive. I would like to challenge the board to make a motion this evening to add the Elida School District bathroom policy to the agenda and vote to pass it so that the females of Monroe will be protected in the from mental and physical harm that they are being subjected to until the bathroom bill, SB 104, for the state of Ohio takes effect on February 25th. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 3.2, superintendent update. Mr. Buskirk.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. I first want to start off by recognizing a group that has been instrumental here in the past year. It is our levy committee that worked tirelessly to help pass the bond issue back in November. I had a meeting just getting the information out, and then I met with Jenna Beeson and Heidi Tarrin in last spring, and I shared, here are the facts, and by the way, I'm not allowed to help you. So they said, instead of saying, what do you mean? They said, don't worry, we've got this. They got a great committee of parents that worked a lot of long hours after school on the weekends, and they did a great job getting the information out to our community that helped the bond issue pass with 65%, which shows that this community thinks a lot of this school district, and they want to continue us moving in the right direction. So I cannot thank all of you enough, and I did get a small token of appreciation. It is actually thank you to Coach Tim Kellis and JC Trophy. They donated, and I gave it to Mrs. Beeson early before the meeting, but it's just a little, again, token of our appreciation, you know, the Monroe t-shirt, but on the back it says, proud committee, strong community, hashtag build the nest, because that was their slogan for the bond issue campaign. And again, we are forever in your debt for all the hard work you did, and I cannot thank you on behalf of the board and Mrs. Moore. We cannot thank you enough for all you did. And so I see Damon over there, and some other people back there. So again, I mean, outside of school hours in the evenings, everybody has full-time jobs. I was walking my dog in the park and ran into Damon passing out signs on a Saturday morning. So we just really appreciate everything that all of you guys did. And I know a t-shirt's just a small token, but I just want you to know on behalf of all of us how much we appreciate all you did. So, and then just my other quick update was along those lines, we had a construction kickoff meeting with OFCC. Obviously, we're in the middle of our project to fill in the small gym in the junior high, and that is underway, and they're going to start that very soon, middle of second semester. But as far as the high school project, the first step is the selection of the architecture firm that will work on this project, and the selection will start at the first of the year. So that is, again, the first step. We're partners with OFCC every step of the way, but I will keep you updated as we go through that. And then finally, I just want to, Thursday marks the end of the second quarter. First semester is ending. I know high school finals start tomorrow. I'm very proud of the students and staff who've worked very hard this first half of the year. And I wish everybody a happy holiday season. One more thing about the choir that came in and sang. They've been, for them to come to do that again tonight, they've been traveling to perform in other places. They had their big winter concert last week, so all of those kids have finals starting tomorrow, and very busy kids, so very appreciative that they were able to come and do that. So.
Excellent.
I just want to add something
Yes.
to the levy committee. Back a long time ago, before I even got on the board, I think it was like 2009, 2010, I served on a levy committee, and you guys seriously knocked it out of the park. So I just wanted to thank you on behalf of what Robert said, but all of us, but the community members have a lot to be thankful for as well, because you guys did a fantastic job, so thank you.
One more thing I did want to say on that levy committee. Not only did they have to, work hard, they had funds, and then there was some issues with their funds, and I had, Mr. Guido had volunteered to be the treasurer for that, and then it turned into a bit of a mess, but they worked through it and never let them slow them down. So again, I appreciate, all you guys did for that. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Busker. Section 4, Treasurer's Consent Agenda. Mrs. Moore?
I recommend approval of the treasurer's consent agenda as presented.
May I get a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Grant.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Leeds.
This month is pretty boring, so pretty much we have the minutes from the last meeting, which was a very quick turnaround, and the treasurer's report. It's not as perfect as last month, you know, but the variances, they're really looking good for this point in the year, and there are timing differences, and it'll change month to month, but nothing to be concerned about. We really didn't have any exciting things happen in the month, so I don't have anything else to say about November. Other than that, we have the bond fund report. We have several donations on here as well, so thank you to all who donated. And that is all I have. Any questions?
Any questions?
Is all the money where it's supposed to be?
Yes, it is.
All right. And thank you for all the donations as well.
Yes, thank you for the donations.
Yes.
That's great. Any other questions? All right. Mrs. Moore, please call the roll.
And I'm sorry, I did not write that down quick enough. Was it Grant and then Leeds?
Yes.
Mr. Grant,
All right.
Mr. Leeds.
Got it. Mr. Grant?
Aye.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye, motion carried. Section 5, treasurer's other business.
I recommend the board approve a resolution authorizing the treasurer to enter into an agreement to establish a commercial card account with Huntington Bank.
May I get a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Grant. Second by Mr. Fulham.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Any questions?
No. So we're basically just moving it from PNC over to Huntington.
Yes, our cards currently are with PNC, and they've been a challenge at times, and so we looked at some other programs, and Huntington seems to have a strong program, so we're going to give it a go.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Mrs. Moore, please call the roll.
Mr. Grant?
Aye.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye, motion carried. Thank you, Mrs. Moore. Section 6, superintendent personnel consent agenda.
I recommend the approval of the superintendent HR personnel consent agenda as presented.
May I get a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Leeds.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Hagedorn. Mr. Busker?
Not a whole lot since it's a short turnaround from our last meeting due to the holiday coming up. A couple resignations from some supplementals, some subs, obviously some, coaching positions, a stipend for a student teacher. I do want to note, we have two retirements on here. Two great teachers who have served this district for a long time. And anytime we have a teacher that has been here, and these two especially, have touched the lives of a lot of children over the years, and it is always very difficult to replace. So I wish them well. Congratulations to Mr. Kalani and Mrs. Pratt.
Any questions?
No?
Nope.
All right. Mrs. Moore, please call the roll.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mr. Grant?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye, motion carried. Section 7, superintendent other business consent agenda.
I recommend the approval of the superintendent other business consent agenda as presented.
May I get a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Grant.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Hagedorn. Mr. Busker?
7.1 is just it's a contract with Warren County ESC for a student in the social communication services. The 7.2 is just the approval of the course of study, as they, strangely enough, at January, they already start the scheduling process for second semester for next year at the high school. Just the approval of the indoor track and field season. 7.4 is an overnight trip request, and that is a wrestling. Overnight. That's it.
All right, any questions?
No?
Nope.
All right, Mrs. Moore, please call the roll.
Mr. Grant?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye, motion carried. Thank you, Mr. Buskirk. All right. Moving along, section 8, comments from the board. Mr. Leeds.
Well, first of all, I can't believe that we got finals coming up. Good luck to everybody in the finals, but thank you again to the choir that presented here tonight. It was great. And again, to the staff, you guys done one heck of a job. And what we're hearing from the community, they cannot be happier. So keep up the good work. We don't say it enough, but thank each and every one of you. And happy holidays to everybody. And like I said, I can't believe the first part of it's over. So that's all I have.
All right, thank you, Mr. Leeds. Mr. Fulham?
Here we go.
It's time for my raspy high fives from around the hive. I was at the Bearcats game on Saturday, and this is the result of a big win against little brother.
Here we
Watching
go.
that, and I wondered if you were you.
I was right down there. If you were watching close, you saw me. High fives to the incredible students in our Anthony Munoz leadership group. They put together a fantastic donation drive for Monroe's Success Program. Because of their dedication and the kindness of everyone who donated, families in our community will receive much needed personal care items, household supplies, and financial assistance this holiday season. Their efforts are truly making a difference in spreading holiday cheer. High fives to the Environmental Club for their amazing fundraising efforts. Their talent show, led by the talented sophomore Chloe Dykes, was a fun and creative way to support those affected by the recent hurricanes in Florida and North Carolina. They raised an impressive $1,500 for the Red Cross, showing true compassion and initiative in helping our friends in the South. High fives to our primary PTO for the wonderful Breakfast with Santa event they hosted this weekend. It was a truly magical experience filled with holiday cheer for our students and their families. From fun activities to meeting Santa himself, it was a fantastic opportunity for our students to connect and celebrate the season. The event was incredibly well organized, and my two daughters had a terrific time. I just hope everyone has an amazing winter break and a very Merry Christmas.
All right, thank you, Mr. Fulham. Mr. Grant?
Mine will be brief. I will echo what Mr. Leeds said. The ensemble tonight was fantastic. Knocked it out of the park. They did a really good job. Also, thank you to the staff, to Mr. Buskirk, Mrs. Moore, our administration team for a great half of year. I can't believe it's Christmas. It just, I don't know, maybe I'm in my 50s now, just getting faster and faster, but it needs to slow down just a tad. But I hope everyone has a great holiday break, and I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. So thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Grant. Mrs. Hagedorn?
So I'd like to not be too repetitive, but also I'd like to thank the all-girl ensemble for coming this evening and preparing. I did not even think about finals this week, and that could be a thing. So I want to wish all the students good luck on finals.
Maybe the choir finals tomorrow.
Yeah, the choir finals is tomorrow.
Let's get
Yes.
warmed up.
That's right. But I wish all the students good luck on finals, and always just do your best, because that's why we're here, is for the education. So just get in the grind and just do your best you can. That's all we ask for. I'd like to thank our visitors for coming today and voicing your opinions. I always appreciate community members coming and voicing your opinions. And I'd really like to say thanks to the Build the Nest Committee. I know that was a lot of work that went into that, and we had a really good outcome. So I really appreciate everything that you guys had done for that. So, and I want to wish everybody happy holiday season. That's all I have for today.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Hagedorn. Yeah, the worst part is always being the last, right? Everybody's already said anything. So,
Yes, I know that.
again, I really enjoyed the ensemble. That was really, really wonderful. Thank you to the levy committee. It'll be really exciting as we start seeing progress out here, but you know, your efforts are what made that possible. So we're all very, very grateful and appreciative for your efforts. And thank you for coming this evening to Mrs. Bodie and Mrs. Drew. We really appreciate you guys coming and speaking. Again, as you can see, we don't get visitors very often, so We do appreciate when people do come and voice their opinions. That was weird, but it's very much appreciated. But that's all I have. So with that, we'll move on to Section 9, adjourn to executive session. It is recommended the board adjourn to executive session to prepare for, conduct, or review negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees concerning their compensation or other terms and conditions of their employment. No action will be taken. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Grant.
Second?
Thank you, Mr. Leeds. Grant Leeds. All right. Mrs. Moore, please call the roll.
Mr. Grant?
Aye.
Mr. Leeds?
Aye.
Mr. Fulham?
Aye.
Mrs. Hagedorn?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye, motion carried. Everyone have a very wonderful Christmas, and we'll see you in January.
Thank you. Yeah, my computer. Yeah, it's weird. It shut down.